Hey guys, if you're here, you're probably daydreaming about moving to Hawaii or possibly considering moving to Hawaii. In this video, we're going to be talking about the questions that we always get asked when we tell people that we moved to Hawaii. And there's one in particular that we get asked every single time.
And we're also going to be sharing with you one of the scariest things about living in Hawaii, and it's not hurricane season and it's not sharks.
So in this video, we're going to give real talk on what it actually takes to live in Hawaii.
And expectation versus reality living in Hawaii.
Just so you know, the island that we lived on was Maui.
So the advice that we give you could be a little bit different compared to the other islands. And we lived on the south side, which was Kihei. So it was a little less touristy than the west side near like Ka'anapali and Lahaina.
So the first question that we always get asked, did you guys go to the beach every day? And unfortunately, no, we didn't. Because the thing is yes, you live in paradise, but you still have to work.
Yep, so you actually have to schedule time to go do all of the fun, vacation-y, touristy things that you think that you're going to be doing every day. And actually, a friend of ours who lived on Maui before we moved there, she told us that, and I was thinking like she was crazy because I was like, how, you have to schedule it? Like, I think I'm just going to do it. But really, you get caught up in work. If you're not there like retired or vacationing or a millionaire, then you have to work and you have to make time for all the things that you want to do.
So don't get us wrong, we actually went to the beach quite a bit. We only lived a block away from the beach, so we walked there almost all the time.
Yeah, one of our favorite things to do was go watch the sunset, just lay on the beach or on the soft, short grass. During the winter time too, like whale watching, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a great island because you have a little bit of the slower paced life and a little bit faster, so it's not quite as busy and touristy as somewhere like Oahu. And it's also a lot faster paced than somewhere like the Big Island or Kauai.
Specifically Maui, all the beaches on Maui are public, so you can go to any beach anywhere on the island. So the biggest question that we get asked is it expensive to live on Hawaii, specifically Maui for us?
With that question, we're going to go over cost of food, gas, and housing. Is it expensive to live there as far as like cost of food and stuff like that? So if you're living there like you're on vacation, then yeah, it's gonna get expensive if you're eating out all the time, you know, having to tip and everything like that, or shopping at all of the local touristy spots for food, it's gonna get a little expensive. But for us, we were trying to live as frugally as we could while still having a little bit of fun every once in a while. So we shopped at places like Costco, Target, and Walmart for most of our foods.
Costco was our best friend.
Yeah, so most of the prices are the same as they are on the mainland. I actually compared receipts to the mainland Costco and the Costco on Maui, and everything was pretty much the same. The only thing that's a little bit more pricey is certain types of produce, dairy, ice cream, and some types of bread are a little bit expensive too. One of the places, especially if you're living on Maui, that you do not want to shop if you're trying to save money is Safeway. Safeway is so expensive. If you try getting a watermelon there, oh my gosh, like you're going to be paying like $40 for a watermelon when you can go to Costco and get one for like $8.
Crazy story, when we first moved to Maui, we were there for about a week and we just went to the Safeway because it was convenient. It was right down the street. So we walked in and we were actually right behind this person checking out, and they were buying a watermelon. They didn't know the price of it. It was a $40 watermelon. $40.
No joke.
Yeah. We stopped, looked at each other like, are you kidding me right now?
I just wanted to stop her and be like, hey, you guys should really go to Costco. It's like 15, 20 minutes away.
Let's put it this way. They didn't buy the watermelon.
They thought something was wrong with the scale. Another way to save some money on food in Hawaii is you can go pick from a wild mango tree, or once you make friends with people there, you'll have like ohana just kind of gifting you things from their garden or their property.
Another thing that can be expensive is housing on Maui. So there's renting, obviously, and then there's owning property or real estate on Maui. So the real estate market over in Hawaii, specifically Maui, is quite expensive. Just to get a typical one-bedroom condo, they start out about $500,000 and they go up, and that's just for your basic type of condo, depending where you're at on the island.
If you're lucky, then you can get a studio for maybe $1,500, but it's not furnished and you have to furnish it.
The cool thing about renting an apartment is most places they do come furnished because it's the island. Hawaii reuses a lot of their furniture because they don't get it as much as the mainland does.
Yeah, it's a lot more expensive to ship things over, so in Hawaii, you basically use it until you can't use it anymore. We were extremely lucky when we moved to Maui. We actually ended up renting a place from some people who became our ohana, and we had stayed on their property when we honeymooned on Maui, and they were just so gracious and so kind to let us rent from them for like a really good price.
The place we lived at was a tiny little place, like a tiny little studio, but the idea was that we were going to be living outside most of the time. So we just needed a place that we could just sleep and rest in, and really just enjoy Hawaii.
And cook our food and stuff. But
Yeah.
So if you're a big outdoors person, then living in Hawaii is probably a great thing for you, because that is one way that you can save money. So unlike living on the mainland, you know, when you want to go out and do something, go have some fun, maybe go bowling or go to a movie or whatever it is, whatever activity that you usually have to pay for, living in Hawaii, there's so much to do in nature. Like you can go hiking, you can go snorkeling, you can go whale watching, and sometimes you might even get to go whale watching for free if you know the right people. You can go fishing for free. There's so many free outdoor activities that are so much fun, and that really helps to save money and just give you plenty of things to do.
Another question we get asked now that we moved back to the mainland is, do we miss Maui? Of course we miss Maui. I miss specifically the sea turtles and snorkeling and the beaches.
And then there's things like you'll just see wild chickens and roosters kind of like roaming the streets, and little baby chicks and everything, which is really cute, which I miss.
Mm-hmm. I think we also miss the energy, like how laid back it is. It's a completely different animal than it is over here in the mainland.
There's aloha every day, and something about aloha is if you live there, like you have to also practice aloha.
It's all about community on Hawaii and everybody looking out for each other and helping each other, and boy do I wish that was more here on the States. It's just, yeah. Another thing that we miss is the family and the friends. We really miss you guys over there in Maui if you're watching this.
We miss all of our ohana very much.
If you really are considering about moving to Hawaii, you really need to be thinking about the career or industry that you're going to be getting into. So Maui specifically, there's a couple that I would recommend. The first one is going to be medical. So if you're a nurse or a doctor, that's a great paying career that's going to help you to be able to afford to live on the island. The second one is real estate, because real estate, it's really expensive, so the commissions are high. The thing about real estate is you have to take a course, and then it takes about 1 to 2 years to really build up a strong clientele to pay for yourself over there. The third one is hospitalities, because it's vacation, so there's a lot of hotels and stuff. So if you became like a hotel manager or a server, the tips are really good for servers on the island. The fourth one that I recommend is trades. I have a good friend who has family on Oahu, and his dad was saying that sheetrockers make about $50 an hour on the island, which is insane.
And for me, I did hairstyling, and I had a lot of business, especially during the busy seasons. There's always people traveling there, vacationing, that they aren't used to the humidity, so they want to have their hair done, they want to look good, they want to get a blowout, or even they didn't have time to cut their hair or color their hair before vacation, so they want to get it done while they're on the island. Doing hair or beauty, like makeup, aesthetics, is you have a lot of brides and weddings over there, so if you're in that industry, you're going to be making great money and you're going to be staying busy for a lot of the year. Another question we get asked a lot is, do I ship all of my things over there if I want to move there? Or should I just sell everything and move there like we did with suitcases? For us, we weren't sure exactly how long we were going to be living on the island. We were open to whether it's 1 year or forever. We personally just decided to sell most of our things. We kept some of our stuff, like the things that we really just wanted to keep, and if we decided that we for sure were going to live over there long term, we were going to just have those shipped over or have family bring it over when they came to visit.
So to give you an idea, like to ship over a car to, this is Maui specifically, which I would assume is probably similar for the other islands, it's about $1,000 for a car, or $1,500 to $2,000 for like an SUV or a truck of that nature. If you're going to be shipping over like your belongings, like furniture and bigger household items, I've heard that they range from about $5,000 up to $8,000 per container, just depending on your situation.
For us, we took into account the value of our belongings, and we didn't really even have that much furniture anyway, and it wasn't like forever furniture, so we decided to just sell it and just move there with what we had, like the basics, and that was what worked for us, so we don't regret it.
Yep. Another thing when we're talking about shipping is something that I would really recommend that you take into account is changing your mindset on convenience. So the thing about is you're living on an island in the middle of the ocean, which means you're either gonna get something shipped to you by boat or by plane. So it's not like you can just get there like that. So keep that in mind when you're living on the island. If you're ordering something from like Amazon, it might take it a good week. When it says 2 days, it could be a good week before it gets to you.
And you can't order things from Amazon Pantry. Like when we first moved there, I was like, oh, I just, I'll get all of our cleaning supplies and everything like that. Well, you don't get to send that stuff to the island.
Yeah. Now, that's not always the case. Sometimes, like, you would order something and you would get it in 2 days. It just really depends.
That was a lucky day.
Yeah.
And if you're very particular about your grocery stores that you shop at, for example, like me, I love Trader Joe's and Whole Foods. Luckily, there was a Whole Foods on the island, so that was kind of like, okay, well, that's good. But it was pretty sad not having a Trader Joe's, so whenever we would go visit back home, I would stock up on Trader Joe's items and bring them back, on my favorite things. And another thing is there's certain items that you just cannot get on Hawaii. Like there's certain foods that no matter where you go, you can't get it shipped, you can't find it unless, say, a family member brings it to you.
Now, we don't want to sound negative. In fact, I'd say it was more of a humbling experience to really live by your means with very little. So it's one of those character building experiences that I think really helped us out in the long run.
And actually living there, you adjust and it's just becomes normal. Plus there's so many different things that are like trade-offs that are better. So one of the scariest things about living in Hawaii, and it wasn't hurricanes and it wasn't sharks, is something called rat lungworm. You should be aware of it, but it shouldn't be like...
Yeah. Not to talk about it too much, but check it out on Google. Just look up rat lungworm disease on Maui. Google that and you'll see what we're talking about. So it's a mild risk there, just something to be aware of when you're in paradise. So don't get us wrong, hurricanes are pretty terrifying. In fact, when we landed there, within the first month that we were there, we had a really close call with a hurricane.
Hurricane scary. It was Hurricane Lane.
That's the closest hurricane that Maui's had in years, since like the 80s.
So we were pretty freaked out, but actually the pre-hurricane weather was way less like intense than even like a summery, rainy Oregon day.
Yeah. The joke is we live in Oregon now, and a typical winter day here in Oregon was worse than what we saw over there on Maui.
Luckily, everything was fine. And this reminds me, right before we moved to Hawaii, there was the volcano scare, the Big Island volcano erupting. We honestly weren't really scared about that. We just, we had already made up our decision. We knew that, those types of environmental factors, we had to be considered. Another question that we've been asked is about visitors when you live there. So for some people, it's different than others. Some people, when they move to Hawaii, they will get a ton of visitors and their house will become like a hotel because, think about it. If you could go stay with someone in Hawaii for free, that's the biggest expense about traveling and vacationing in Hawaii is like where you're gonna stay. So some people get tons of visitors and they're like, oh my gosh, like my house is like a hotel right now, and like
you can't get them to leave.
Can't get people to leave.
Yeah.
And then there's some people where their family just doesn't visit, not because they don't want to, but maybe there's like financial things going on, or maybe there's life things going on where they just can't take off the time to come visit.
So with all that, guys, the last thing or last message that I'd like to give you is this. If you really are thinking about moving to Hawaii and the opportunity presents itself, that was the position we were in, that we're like, we have to go do this. And so it was a scary thing, and we literally quit our careers here. We moved to the island
with no jobs,
no place where we were going to stay. Luckily, we figured that out before we ever got there. But it was really just a leap of faith and a blessing from God that He gave us the opportunity to live in such an amazing place.
After moving there, we heard that either the island will embrace you or it won't embrace you. And for us, thank goodness, it embraced us for the time that we were there. We knew when it was our time to leave. Like, you kind of just know when it's your time to leave. And I feel like if we tried to force against that, maybe things would have been harder. For example, when we left, when we felt like we were supposed to leave, not too long after that, COVID happened, and both of our careers, like being new there on the island in our careers, it could have really affected us to where it would have been hard to live there and to survive.
Yeah, it all worked out for the better, and it was actually, we were very content when we left the island. We felt like we were there for when we were there, and we needed to go at that point in time.
Yeah, and we met just some of the greatest friends ever. Like, when you meet friends there, typically the type of people that moved to Hawaii, there's so many other people just like you that move there with the same mindsets, the same interests and stuff like that. So we met people that, we will have as friends forever. And if, they're still living there, we can always go back and visit them, or maybe not take over their house, but we can go visit them and say hi and, feel like we're still part of the island.
I encourage you, if you really are thinking about moving over there and it seems impossible, it really is not. Like, really, you can move over there, even if it's for a year. I mean, you can make it happen for a year. I really do encourage you to ponder the idea about moving over there and how can you actually make that happen, become reality.
And like you said earlier, if you do have the opportunity, something that you really want to do, I encourage you to just take the leap of faith like we did and do it, and knowing like, it could be for a year, it could be for however long, but if you don't do it, like we decided if we didn't do this, we might regret it for the rest of our lives.
And that was going to cost us way more than trying to go try it.
And it was an experience that we will never, regret, we'll never forget, and it's a part of our story now.
Now, do be responsible and make sure that you do have savings when you go over there. You need something to fall back on. So if you're going over there with absolutely no savings, I wouldn't suggest that. So make sure that you do have a couple months just in case.
Unless you want to live there and be a beach bum, because that is the perfect place to do that.
Doable. Totally doable. You could do that for like a good week or two, no problem.
Totally.
I think we definitely thought about like we could have lived out our suitcases on the beach for a week or two. Totally doable.
We hope that, you guys learned something from this video. And if you have any other questions about, maybe that we didn't answer, then we would love to help you out. So leave a comment below. And
definitely.
And be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell to see what's up next.
So with that, we're going to say mahalo nui loa.